Welcome to Love Books. It's really wonderful to have so many of you here tonight again. And thank you so much for coming, for supporting us, and of course for supporting Melinda tonight for the launch of her latest memoir, which of course is called Swift. With this beautiful jacket. I'm not going to say much tonight, except that Melinda, I really applaud your bravery. And Swift, like everything you've written, it's brave, it's moving, and it's very real. I think to write something so personal and so heartfelt so soon after a traumatic event is incredibly courageous. I really don't know how you do it, and congratulations. I think tonight might be a little hard, but we've got a room full of support here for you. And it's wonderful to have you here, and thank you so much for doing this tonight. I don't think we've seen you since you left Johannesburg, which I now realize you left for the love of your life. But we've missed you, and it's lovely to have you here again. So welcome. Please give Melinda a big welcome. Thank you. Chatting to Melinda tonight is another former Joburger who we really miss, Pumla Gqola, who will be interviewing Melinda. Pumla, it's wonderful to have you back tonight here as well. I think one of the biggest launches we've ever had at Love Books was Pumla's Reflecting Rogue, I think it was. All published by Melinda. At the moment, Pumla is Professor of Literary and Cultural Studies at Nelson Mandela University, where she holds the South African Research Chair in African Feminist Imagination. She's authored 5 books, including Rape, A South African Nightmare, which won the Alan Paton Award, and which was, of course, published by Melinda. So over to the two of you.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be back at Love Books. Good, is it evening? Looks like afternoon, but I'll say good evening. Good evening. You can't hear? Really? Okay, should I start again?
Keep it nice and close.
Oh dear, I'm going to need both my hands, but okay. Good evening, and thank you for coming. It's wonderful to be back at Love Books and to be talking to this fantastic person sitting to my left about an absolutely phenomenal book. The books are on sale inside the bookshop, so we'll leave you enough time after our conversation and your conversation to grab a book and have Melinda sign it. Trust me, you want to read this one. So Melinda Ferguson is a woman who wears many hats, including, but not limited to, author of 4 previous memoirs and co-author of 4 books and editor of 4. So there's something about 4s as I was writing this. And publisher of, I honestly have lost count of how many. What I do remember is that when her publishing house, when her imprint, which was an imprint then, turned 5, she had published the gobsmacking number of 40. And that was a while ago, so I have long lost track of how many she has. Perhaps she can tell us. Which was then an imprint of the wonderful Gqola. She's also a petrol head.
I'm driving the new Citroen. Right. There's a 40,000 Rand apparently discount if everybody buys the new Citroen Basalt. And Citroen is not paying me for this.
She must really like it.
Oh, where did that come from?
Her previous 4 memoirs are, which you should also buy, Smacked, a harrowing story of addiction and survival, which came out in 2005 and was an immediate runaway bestseller, followed by Hooked, Secrets and Highs of a Sober Addict, and then Crashed, How Trashing a Ferrari Saved My Life. And then most recently, before Swift, Bamboozled, In Search of Joy in a World Gone Mad. Today, of course, as you all know, we launch her 5th memoir, Swift. Congratulations, Melinda.
Gee whiz, I didn't even pay her for all this, but you could be my, literally publisher at the moment.
I mean, which if, or if any of you had any doubt, certainly establishes her as a memoirist extraordinaire. So let's start, Melinda, with a writing question or two. So the timing of this book follows very closely from a catastrophic series of events, a catastrophic time where Matt dies suddenly while you are in the midst of trying to keep the Swift alive, and it becomes this really challenging time, and yet you make something of that. So I have two quick questions related to that. So the first question is, as someone who, I've said this to you before, I think you have an unparalleled capacity to map the psyche, right? To map just unmatched capacity to match the psyche. And of course, you pull out the same magic in this memoir, and it's hard. It's a hard set of things that you're battling with. It's a hard and battled time, and yet the book is so light-filled and hopeful. Can you say something about how you pulled that off?
I really think it was the Swift. This bird, it was magic. A bird, I'm going to cry, but a baby bird fell out of a nest like 7 or 8 days before Matt died. And I was having such a fight with him. He was being a real fucking asshole. I'm sorry, Matt. And he told me to keep the dog in. And of course, Joe is my beautiful buddy, probably was the husband in some kind of fur coat. And Matt said, I'm gardening and keep the dog in. I hope this is just going to answer your question somewhere. And basically, I let the dog out, but I let him only out to the kitchen door. And Matt came storming in. He was like trying to garden with the gate open, and Joe did go run around. So it was always like chasing Joe. And he just let loose at me. He freaked the fuck out at me like I'd never, ever seen him. And I was so angry with him. All I wanted to do was go to my cabin and I couldn't go, but the next morning someone wrote a message on the WhatsApp Breerivier groep saying, "Voeltjie het uit die boom geval, kan iemand help?" If you can understand that, I'm not Afrikaans, but I understood it. A bird fell out the tree, can someone help? And Matt was the one who could rescue birds. When he was a child, he used to have birds in his room in Germany. And he would fix all these birds, and he had them. He was a man with a heart of feathers, really. But because I was so angry with him, I thought, fuck you. I will go and I'll fucking get this bird. I will not tell you about the bird. I will not ask you for your help because you're a fucking motherfucker. Like, that was the kind of fight we were having. And I ran off and I rescued the Swift. And what it turned out to be was Matt's vehicle for his soul. The bird became my meaning because he fucking was lying dead in a house when I broke a window and walked into my home. And to find my soulmate like dead in a house was the most, it's like still, it's only 4 fucking months yesterday. It was the most like horrendous thing I'd ever encountered, and I've done a lot of shit in my life. I've been gang raped by fucking gangsters. I've had drugs coming out of my fucking veins. I have walked a long fucking road of hell. But this thing was the one that like just broke me. And seeing him, in the other hand, I had a bird. There was nothing to do but look after this baby. Matt's last words, some of them, were, "You are the Swift's mother." Because I told him I can't feed a bird worms because I cannot fucking even look at a worm. I cannot touch a worm. And this bird was eating worms at one time. And he said, "Fuck you to me. You are the bird's mother. You will feed it worms." And he walked away from me and he forced me to do what I didn't want to do. And I can see now how everything was making sense. And then he was shifting out of here. Neither of us knew consciously, but all of it makes sense now because the bird was meant to be there for me not to die because I didn't want to live after he died. I didn't even have the energy to think of killing myself. I just thought I wouldn't breathe again. It was like I could just have lain there and not breathed again. But then the bird was like beating in my hand. And I didn't even fucking know what this bird was. I'm not a bird person. Everyone thinks I'm this big bird rescuer. I didn't even know that this bird was an insectivore. I just thought it was a bird. And in the book, I want to say this because this is one of my favorite lines. So you see, I'm also mad because I'm going cry, cry, ha, ha, stand-up comedy. One of my favorite lines in this book is when I say, I never liked birds. My mother loved birds. I thought they were boring. When I was 16 or whatever, I saw The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock. They freaked me out. And when I was an addict, if I could have smoked a bird, I would have. So that's how I felt about birds, honestly. I wasn't like this huge bird watcher. You know what I mean? Like, the last thing I ever thought I'd write was a book with a swift on the cover. But this little magical creature came in. And Matt came into the bird. And you know what? I don't give a shit if anybody says rubbish. You're just saying that to make yourself feel better. Because I have told myself a story that has allowed me to write a book because that makes sense to me. Has that answered your question?
No, but that's fine. Not even remotely, but that's fine. We'll move swiftly along.
Anything could happen tonight. I'm just warning you.
So, just on that note that you ended, there's a recurring line throughout the memoir. The stories we tell ourselves are everything. And I think it takes on, it means different things at different parts of the memoir, I think. Initially, I'm not going to ruin the memoir for you, don't worry. At the beginning, it seems to be about, you're telling the story about this great, phenomenal love, and then it's going to ultimately be a story of grief and how you make sense of that grief. But it's also, and I do think it is a love story. But it seems to me it's a love story with, there's your love story with Matt, there's your love story with Joe, who's also a rescue. So I don't know about you not being a rescuer. And there's your love story with Swift, Taylor Swift, also known as Taylor Swift, also known as Matt Swift, also known as Swiftie, who, the cover is about Swift, has Swiftie. So along the line then of kind of love stories and the story, one of the things that Matt says to you before he dies, a few weeks before he dies, or a few months before he dies, is, don't write about me in your next book.
Sorry.
So Melinda, no, you're not.
No, I'm not. I said to him the other day, you lost the fucking right, dude. I'm sorry. Like, if you had been alive, you would never have been in this book. Because there wouldn't have been a Swift and another thinking like death in this thing. So he lost the right.
But he would have been in the book, whatever the next book was. It would have had an ED, right? You couldn't do Swifted.
No. I couldn't have done. It was supposed to be called Terminated. So I was writing a book about AI and how
smacked,
humans are
hooked,
lazy.
Bamboozled.
And then Matt gets terminated.
Terminated.
Yeah. One of the weird things, can I add this, is
You can
that
add whatever you want. It's your book launch.
I've learned a lot about Swifts, and those of you who are not interested in Swifts, by the time, if you do read this book, I think you will see Swifts in a very different way. They are phenomenal creatures. They can spend, some people say 10 months, others say 2 years, up in the sky without ever landing. They don't ever land on the ground. They're airborne. They eat, sleep, mate, sleep in 3,000 meters above the earth, in the sky, and their right brains or one of the hemispheres of their brain switches off, and they just coast open their mouths and fucking chow insects. They are the most sophisticated aeronautical creatures on this planet in the bird kingdom, which is aeronauticals. So you would say the most sophisticated pilot that's not a human, and no human would be able to fucking do what a swift could do. So swifts have like become enormously important suddenly to me. I was at Monte Casino this morning. Someone booked me into a weird hotel there, and I was like, fuck, I'm here in this fucking hotel. I went outside in my pajamas, by the way. I was like, I don't care. I'm going outside for a smoke. And these swifts started screeching, and they were just circling me up in the middle of this gambling, God-forsaken place. There were the swifts, and they were there, and I knew. And I just feel like the magic that has happened to me in the death of my angel has been almost as brutal as it's been as magic. So I don't understand this, and I don't know how to make sense of it, but there's something that has been given to me that I didn't have before he died.
Absolutely. And I mean, this memoir is magical. Yeah. It's incredibly magical. And you say you come to believe. And there's parts where you're convincing yourself, and there's parts where you fully seem to believe that Matt and Swifty, and sometimes you call it, they merge into Swift Matt. But even when they're not merged, that the Swift came to carry Matt somewhere, right? It came to fetch Matt. But I wonder whether, and there's all sorts of other magical things that happen. You plant cedar trees just before, and then your caretaker says, "Oh,
this begrafenisbome."
So there's this kind of.
And these are all damn true. I plant begrafenisbome before Matt dies.
Yes,
I mean,
and
it's
then the Swift comes.
And the Swift comes.
And then all of these things come. And they in other hands, it would be quite a gloomy memoir. And I don't want to trivialize grief, because those of us who've lived through or are living through grief know how debilitating it can be. But I do wonder whether you can actually return to that. You don't have to do it now, but at some point before the 45 minutes runs out, come back to how you infuse so much lightness into this memoir, and whether in fact the Swift isn't also you, especially how you've kind of the mobility, the magic. Is it only Matt?
No, the Swift has come into me. I mean, I know this is crazy, but I wrote this book. I mean, I've told people 6 weeks. I wrote this book. I started 2 weeks after he died. I wrote notes almost the next day after he died. I was just trying to make sense. I was like writing one word, do it 2 words, but 2 weeks after he died, I got the most incredible opening of a channel. Well, it sounds like some fucking weird thing, but it just download. 18 hours a day. Couldn't stop. Not even tired. 2 weeks, I have a whole book. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I don't remember what I'm writing. I'm just downloading. And I really felt Swift energy. I don't know what Swift energy is, but the stories we tell ourselves are everything. Yes. And that is how it felt. It felt like both Matt and the Swift had entered me. And I didn't have control over the book. It felt like I knew, one thing I did do, and I'm going to give Bridget MP there in the corner, who was a wonderful, but Bridget, you were a big ear for me in the beginning of the process, because I felt like a book wanted to come out of me. And Bridget said, whatever you do, make it a beautiful book. Don't make it too big. Okay, Bridget. I listened. And she said, and don't try and turn Terminated into this book. Because, of course, I had 40,000 of Terminated where we were all going to fucking be replaced by the bots. And me and the bots falling in love at the same time. It's a very strange book. I'm kind of addicted to the bot, but also fucking knowing he's going to fucking take you out. So That's that book, which might never happen. But this one, Bridget said, make it beautiful. Don't try and tell too much of a story. And I landed up telling 15 days. The book is contained in an arc of 15 days. 7 days before he dies, and 8 days until my angel flies. My two fly together. And then there's obviously backstory. But that book sits within 15 days. And because you told me not to try too much, it felt like that was just the most almost simple way of coping and doing it. And I made sure I didn't try and tell story afterwards. It was just done. The book is just done. You're going to just see it. It's just done.
So one of your
Have I answered one of your questions?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to piggyback on Bridget's the note on Bridget. So one of your favorite things to say, which is one of my favorite things that you say, at every workshop, you tell at all of your writing workshops. I've heard you give this feedback to many writers in the 2 decades or so that I've known you, and that we've been friends. And you like to say, write from the scar, not the wound. Don't just bleed on the page. And and so
that was last year. This is this year.
So
Now it's all about wound. It's a wound. The wound. But I have always said that.
I think part of why you say it is because people just bleed on the page, and then it's just like gore and devastation, and it's like, oh my God, it's like misery porn, right? And I guess that's what you're trying not to read, which is why. I mean, I'm sure some people are into misery porn, but it's not really good writing a lot of the time. Were you not worried? I mean, you say this so much. Were you not a bit, as you were listening to Bridget, as you were overtaken by the goddesses of writing and feverishly writing for 18 hours and 12 hours and 14 hours a day, what was your relationship with that thing that I think that is very important to you? How do you... Because this certainly is not that.
No, it isn't that. I must say, and this might sound a bit arrogant or vain, pretty soon I thought that what I was writing was quite brilliant. I mean, that sounds terrible, but it didn't feel like, Matt's dead, I'm gonna... It felt like I was like having this weird humor about the story, and I think once you have humor, that means that you have got a bit of a scar going. So remember, if I had swift energy, I was also fixing myself up very quickly. So I was on a major mission to be writing but fixing, writing, fixing. I wasn't just sitting around denying what had happened. I did an 8 kilogram psilocybin journey. No, I did an 8 gram psilocybin journey, otherwise known as magic mushrooms, for those of you who don't know. And no, it wasn't fun. I went to fucking hell. I went and I grieved my angel partner, beautiful man. I went to the hell in the valley. And then I rose and I met him in the fire. And I know this all sounds like, fuck, is she on mushrooms at the moment? But she's not. But I did a lot of work on an 8 gram, 12-hour journey where it was just about my grief, my loss, and my letting his ashes into the fire. I put Matt's ashes into the fire, and the fire danced to heaven. I saw it. Like the stories we tell ourselves or everything. I saw his light and spirit rise. I had the most joyous night and the most incredibly fucking painful night. But it was all giving me like wound, scar. And at the moment, I'm half wound, half scar. And I've kind of got this thought that sometimes you don't even fucking have any choice. And that's what this book was. Like I did have no choice to rescue the bird, I had no choice but to write the book, because the book was another way of me not wanting to die, because it was another fixation on live, get up, work. I'm a bit of a fucking lunatic when it comes to work. I'm sending another book to print tomorrow, so this is a little bit weird of me. I've got 3 books that have just come, but it's swift energy, and I just have a capacity that I didn't have before.
That's incredible. Okay, so
And don't underestimate, I'm going to say this, don't underestimate psilocybin for the areas of the brain that it opens. Since I've been working with it, I have had a much larger capacity for thinking. Silicon Valley guys all use this shit. I mean, I am using it twice a year in very, very guided, protected things. I like speaking about it publicly. I'm suing the government for them to decriminalize psilocybin. It's something very, very, very close to my heart. I don't want you all to go and buy mushrooms now, but working with your brain and allowing it to take other journeys is something that's helped me.
Okay, so I was going to tiptoe around the whole mushroom.
Okay, well, don't worry. I just blew it.
I was not going to do that. I was like, okay, I'm not going to talk about the mushrooms. I'll make notes about the mushrooms, but we're not going to talk about the mushrooms.
She's very protective of me.
So,
she doesn't want me to sound like a fucking loony.
But you went there, so let's go there. So talk to us about, you're kind of the poster child. Yes, okay, rock star. But you're also the poster child for sobriety, and you've been, you were decades in your sobriety. You're clean and sober for almost 30 years. Okay, I know we're not supposed to say that. For 26 years. 26 years. How, and I think for most people, mushrooms
sound like drugs.
Are drugs adjacent. Yeah. And I know that you initially have, you say on page, one of my favorite passages, there's so many of them. You say, is this the one? No, that's not the one. Oh, I don't know. I'll read it for you later. Sorry. I've got lots of bits and pieces, read this one out and ask her. But remember, I wasn't going to talk about the mushrooms. So talk us through your thinking, because if we are thinking that mushrooms, and you're a sober person who has spoken very frankly and very courageously about being clean and sober and giving up drugs and the importance, and you've talked about the secrets and highs of a sober addict and so on. How do you negotiate? How do you negotiate? Not what do you think the difference is? I imagine, I kind of know, but I imagine that there is some struggle initially as you are, on the one hand, curious about mushrooms, but on the other hand, really value your sobriety.
Listen, Matt was the one who literally convinced me to do them. In the book, I write about how fucking terrified I was. The thing is, I was carrying a lot of wounds in my sobriety. I hadn't addressed things. I'd been gang raped. I'd had a mother who was an alkie. I'd had a fucking abuse of this. I had that. I did this to myself. I was carrying a lot of wound stuff, and the 12-step program wasn't doing it for me. I was staying sober, but I didn't have a spiritual relationship with anything. I had one with myself, and I became very materialistic, and it wasn't enough for me. I met Matt after I just got out of a freaking mental health clinic for the crash of the Ferrari and the dreadlocked guy breaking his dick when I found his fucking girlfriend, Dutch lesbian girlfriend or whatever, that whole fucking story. That whole thing was enough to send me into a clinic. And I had a big bill to pay for the Ferrari. So there were things that were not working. And I got out of that clinic on meds. They told me I was bipolar 2. They told me I was this, I was that, I got labeled, and they gave me all the Seroquel and fucking antipsychotics, and I went out with all my pills. And about 3 months later, I was a zombie. And I promise you, I was a fucking zombie. And that's when I swiped right on Tinder, and I found Matt while I was a zombie. And he is a psychiatrist, he is here tonight. I'm sure he's watching and going, fuck, just don't say another fuck. Please don't say another fuck. So Matt was he was a great psychiatrist, a brilliant, a maverick, like a freaking, and he said to me, listen, first things first, we win the shit, you off the shit. Got off the shit. Sorry, guys who are using that stuff, it didn't work for me. Then he said to me, he read my book. He said, you got a lot of problems, girl. And you need to do psilocybin. I was like, oh, you crazy? I'm clean and sober. Fuck. I'm going to become a mushroom addict. Yeah. No. He kept sending me links. Matt loved links. My inbox was fucking full of them. Link. John Hopkins, this one, that one, all the new scientific, all the medical discoveries. This is the miracle drug for depression, for this, for that.
Because you don't have enough manuscripts. You don't have enough manuscripts to read, right? You had to read all the links.
So I got all those links. And you know what? When I went that first night, I thought I was literally going to come out of there scoring on the corner, mushrooms. Well, that night fucking blew my mind. I went through those doors that Jim Morrison spoke about. I went through the doors that Carlos Castanedas spoke about. It was the Aldous Huxley shit that I'd read about as a student. I went through it all and I found the other side of reality. Whatever that means, put your hands up if you've done some mushrooms in the room. Have any of you done? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, little mushroom people, we love you. They are beautiful, fucking loving little things. And you know what? I didn't want to have anything the next day. It was so profound. My whole world was blown apart from what I saw reality, the one reality I'd been working with in like the real world. And then I saw the other world. And it's very hard to explain when you hear people talking about psychedelic. And listen, I had 5 grams hero dose. I was right in there. Like there was no one playing around. You went down, you fucking did it. And you had people carrying you out of the room. You know what I mean? Like you weren't like of this world. But I had such a journey of self-love. And I hadn't been able to love myself. My son is here tonight. I carry great shame still for being a fucked up drug addict mother. When you were born, I'm so sorry. And you know how many times I've said that, but that shame that I carried, it started disappearing when I started working with psilocybin and I began to love myself again. And I could not find love for myself in the 12-step program as much as it had loved me. I couldn't love me. Doing the you're an addict, you're going to do this, you're going to. So I do still 12-step, but it's called psychedelics in recovery now. So there are a group of runaway 12-steppers that have started a revolution which says we are allowed to use psychedelics as a spiritual thing. You don't want to fucking use mushrooms for 6 months after you've done it properly. It's too much. Who wants to go and put yourself through fucking hell and see the darker side and go for fucking journeys to the other side of the cosmos and universe? It is very exhausting. It's magic. And I believe that I've been able to cope this way because not only the Swift, but there's been a combination of things. My journey of self-discovery is one where I'm trying to break through the barriers of what we think is real. You like that? Yeah, baby.
Uh-oh. The mushroom.
I mean, we can also ask people if they want to ask things, but we don't want to make it just about mushrooms, hey?
No. We will. I will give a little space for people to ask questions, and it can't just be about the mushrooms. Yeah. But you can ask a question or two about the mushrooms. We're not going to be mushrooms.
Last year I didn't do them once. Okay, I didn't do them once, and then when Matt died, I did it with 5 people. And for me, it's done for the year. I do not want to go to hell again.
What has it done to your death drive?
It's made me understand it. It's made me say, why have you hurt yourself so badly in your life? Oh, because your dad died when you was 4, and you kind of got confused between life and death because death was suddenly very real for me as a little child. And I didn't know what to do with that. And what I thought was, if Dad can die, I can die. Let me die. And I went on this journey. Yeah, heroin, crack. Let's push it right to the limits. Let me see if I can really fucking destroy myself. And I couldn't. I was saved, again, by a miracle. Like Smacked shows the miracle that I get taken out of hell and I'm delivered. And I think that there's a thing inside me that has always pushed into a place to hurt me, but this isn't. And with Matt, I started learning to love myself. And by the time he left me, he had taught me everything I needed to know, like he really had. So do I. He knew and he taught me and he got me fixed. He fucking fixed me. My soulmate fixed me. He took me on the journey. He was very harsh. He was super critical, Virgo, German, fucking psychiatrist. I mean, who wanted to be told by the Germans that you're always doing the wrong thing? But the thing is, he was very good at keeping me in some kind of order, because you can see I am disordered. I am an unhinged kind of person. I couldn't run into the fire. But the thing is, Matt used to keep me...
You are a Leo.
I know, and I'm a fire horse. The Chinese would kill the children born then because they would cause too much trouble in society. And that is me. I've always been like this, Pumla.
And so, let's stay with the death drive.
She's very clever. I mean, I don't even know what you mean sometimes, but she's so brilliant.
Hey, you're the one that writes about it, and you and Matt talk endlessly about the death drive. And you talk to me endlessly about the death drive. So let's talk about the death drive. Your essay in... What was it called?
Lockdown Collection.
Is about your death
Yeah,
pact.
I know it is. Let's get the suicide pills.
So, I wonder, so when you, just now you're talking about how, let me just read this part and then ask my question. I have got the right part now.
Gave her book tonight, so I bet she had read it on her screen.
So you say, this is why it has all these weird untidy pieces of paper. I couldn't put proper civilized stickets. Because I'm still carrying trauma from my dad's sudden evacuation in those first few years with Matt, I often imagine coming home and finding him dead. I used to also do that with my mother after my father died. And so 2 things I want to ask you. I want to throw at you, but lovingly, not hurl at you. The first one is, just now you're talking about when your dad just collapses and dies suddenly and you're little, you're a toddler, you're 4. Part of how, so you imagine death is coming and then you try to control. It seems to me that part of what you try to do is to say, well, if death is going to come anyway and I'm going to die anyway, I'm going to determine how it happens, right? I'm not going to be ambushed. And so a big part of the death drive becomes about controlling the death and not being ambushed. So you imagine people you love are going to die, but if you imagine it, then you're prepared, then you're not ambushed. And then Matt fucking ambushes you. But you don't die. Right? Because it seems a big part of the anxiety about the people you love dying is that you may not survive it a second time, the next time. And yet you are gorgeous.
But I must say,
but gorgeous and not dead. And
I'm not dead, but I have got a very crazy thing happening at the moment. I am like telling Martine, there's a number that you must have, and I'm telling this one, if you can't get hold of me, then you might have to just do this. So I'm like very conscious of my own fragility, as in the finiteness of being human, which I find is to be the most tragic thing in the book, actually, the final realization that we are finite and that in 1 minute, the one you can love can just, and that means that I can as well. And I am at the moment very conscious of my own, I could just like that. I don't want to, but I know that it can happen. So I hope that that's one thing that's not going to keep on, because it's very tiresome to keep telling people, oh, well, if something happens to me, you must find that. I mean, I've started with you, James, hey? But I do want to have a death folder now. Matt had no will. I mean, he left it in a big fucking mess. Because neither of us were going to die. We were going to live till we were 90. Or he was going to be 4 years older than me. But he was definitely going to be the healthiest old man that I ever knew. And then he wasn't.
And then he wasn't. we have this gorgeous book. How do you feel about the book?
I love it. What I would love.
Why do you love it? Tell us why you love it.
No, I love it because of Swifty. I mean, this was a video, and I just did a screenshot of as the Swift. This was the day before he flew. So he went from being this little fucking ragamuffin. I've got some early photos. He's just like bald feather, no eyes, because he was so dehydrated. And he just was so ugly. I didn't know what the fuck he was. He was just this little bird that was like, yeah. And but he wanted to eat. He wanted to eat anything I gave him. And so I caught him looking at me like this, because we had a lot of eye contact. I mean, I fell in love with this bird. I mean, this bird was everything. Poor Joe took the fucking back seat, the bird. And he was just a moment of reference to me. Look, Mommy, look how big my wings are. And the next day, I held my hand up into the sky and he took off in a second. In a second, he just... So what I wanted to do was put velvet around this book. If I could have afforded a velvet cover and had a seamstress make every single book just to feel it like this and felt how the bird felt, because the bird was like the softest thing I'd ever felt. And it was so fragile and it was so dependent on me. And we haven't even spoken about Hannah, because how do we... Okay, I think we need to bring Hannah in.
Okay, so Hannah. I know Hannah's your favorite.
What, a human being? Yeah. Sorry, guys, children included.
Hannah?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God, she's so irritating.
Not.
She is. Wait. Don't wait.
No, I don't like you saying shit about Hannah.
Let me say what I want to say about Hannah, and then you can fight with me. Let me finish. She's not only irritating. I know you're very attached to Hannah. So let's talk about Hannah. And Hannah becomes then a really important, because Hannah born Taylor is what you call the Swift Queen, or a saint of Swifts and the Swift Queen. She knows all of these things about Swifts. She is absolutely in love with Swifts, and in that moment where you are keeping your Swift, you're keeping Swifty, Taylor Swift, Matt Swift Matt, and Swifty alive, and are pouring all of this love into Swifty. Hannah, of course, becomes absolutely integral to you, and you two grow incredibly close. And what's interesting to me is that you almost write about her as a lifesaver, and I can see some of that. But what is interesting also is actually super organized.
Sure.
She's super organized and like no detail. She misses no detail. And I wonder whether part of the attraction is not so much that she keeps you alive and she loves Swift too, but whether in fact there was a bit of a mirror, because you are super organized and on top of everything all the time. And so, yeah, speak to us about that. Forget the irritating. I'll come back to that.
Yeah, I don't want to tell the whole story, but I mean...
No, you can't tell the whole story,
No.
because then why would they buy the book?
I know. Okay, I just want to quickly contextualize Hannah. About 4 hours after Matt's dead, and I don't know it, because I spent the whole day not knowing that he's dead. I just keep sending messages to him, thinking he's going to answer. And then they just don't get answered. And I keep making excuses like, oh, well, he doesn't like his phone. He switched it off. He hates Bluetooth. He doesn't like 5G. Oh, whoa. My brain was like making lekker excuses. And about 4 hours after he died, I got inboxed by a woman in the UK, Hannah Bourne Taylor, who's the UK Swift activist. She's really an amazing woman. You got to Google her. When you fucking read my book, you're going to Google her and follow her naked journey through London, where she went like a town crier and called to all the people of the UK, come and help the Swifts. We are the feathered people. She adores birds, and she looks like she's got tattoos. She's fucking hot as well, guys. I mean, women, everybody, Hannah is hot. And basically, she walked through London naked, calling for the UK government to put a new brick into every new building, a swift brick rather, so that swifts can lay their eggs, because all the buildings and the swift nets have been destroyed. A lot in the UK. Scotland has just voted for the bill. Hannah managed Scotland to change. Big fucking up to Scotland. And I have now become a swift activist as well, because like, what the fuck? She's brought me into a corner. Anyway, the thing with Hannah is that Hannah knew everything about the bird and I knew fuck all. That is the truth. She had to teach me. Sorry that I swear so much, Sodwa, but you know what? The Lord is forgiving. You must just close your ears, because Melinda is a bit of a swearer. I'm going to try not to. Okay, it's a bit late now.
Go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, listen, like there's a long story, but Hannah comes in about 4 hours after Matt died. I mean, the pathologist has basically given me a time. I realize he died at about 1 a.m. Early in the morning, I get my first message from Hannah. She comes in and she takes control. And I needed someone to fucking take control, because this bird was going to die. And I think she realized if the bird died and I lost Matt, would I return? Maybe not. Like, it was just too much. I was kind of about to give Joe to Megan. Megan was going to be like Joe's godmother, and then I could just like slip away. So those two were instrumental, but Hannah was hectic, hey? Fuck, was she hectic. You have no idea how much of her I cut, because, I mean, she could just go on for pages, hey? Pages and pages and pages and pages, and it was all WhatsApp and voice note. We never once spoke to each other, but she sent me, all day messages.
With instructions.
How much does the swift weigh? Have you given it how many crickets? Where did the swift needs 100 crickets a day, but I haven't got 100 crickets. Go to the shops, do it. The swift. And there's a chapter I say, all we hear is Radio Hannah. Remember that Queen song, all we hear is Radio Gaga? Radio Hannah. And she just like fucking got to me so badly. I used to want to go, fuck off.
You're like,
Hannah.
oh my God, my love of my life has just died and I have to think about
and
this
she
other
keeps
thing too.
telling
and she
me
goes,
like,
yes, it's terrible.
Yeah.
About the Swift.
She didn't care. Like, she knew. Like, I phoned, like, we spoke the other day, because I obviously asked her if she was okay with me using so much of her Swift information in the book, and she just adores it. But she said I should have cut half of her out. She was too embarrassed. But I did actually cut quite a lot of. Craig, since you read it, Hannah did get a little bit edited. I'm down. But Hannah, she just doesn't give a shit about people. She just loves birds. I mean, she is one of those few people on this planet who's a real force for nature, and she believes it. And she came into my world.
Okay.
And without her, the swift would have died. It would definitely have died.
Probably. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I have faith in you. I have greater faith in you than that.
The thing is,
okay.
I was feeding, can I just say one thing? I was feeding it worms, and worms are not good for the swift. Mealworms. If you ever have a swift, don't feed it mealworms, because they'll eat it, but their wings get brittle. So once they try and fledge, their wings will just make them fall and they'll die. So those things were really bad. And because I was so fucked up about Matt dying, I couldn't handle the crickets, because the crickets were fucking jumping everywhere. I had to keep on pushing the crickets down, and they were never staying in the box. And then I was freezing the crickets. So the worms were the easiest to do. Look at it. Do you understand that I went insane? This book is about a woman who went insane.
It is about a woman who is embattled. I don't know if it's about a woman who went insane. It is definitely, there's a. I mean, if I had to characterize it in one line, it's you're definitely embattled. But there's also this big battle between death and love. In every single chapter, it's like death and love and death and love wins every single time. And maybe that's why it's so as painful and heartbreaking as what you speak about is, and as I mean, obviously you are you, so we feel the things on the page because you're a magician with words. Because love wins, we're not consumed ourselves by the death drive. as your readers. Okay, I did say I would give time for questions. So can I get a sense? And I said I would at 45. It is at 45. Well, it's 47. So can I get a sense of questions, comments? Two. Can I get a third one? Maybe. And then okay, great. So are you going to shout? Do you want? Can you shout? Can you project? Please.
Sorry. You can't, on the recording, you can't hear people when they don't use the mic.
Oh, so then they should.
They should come up and ask a question from your mic.
Because Kate said I could.
Okay, come. Stand up.
Okay, yeah.
Hello.
The questions are for you.
You know what I feel? It's a comment, actually, because I've experienced a similar loss and I'm writing about a similar loss. But there's a line in Zorba the Greek, Kazantzakis speaks of it, and I think it's also in the Buddhist Book of the Dead and stuff like that, which says, do you live life as if you will never die? Or do you live life as if you will die at any moment? And I've always thought that the maturing of a grief is that dying at any moment, because when you're young, that's why everyone dies in car crashes as such, when life is just this immortalization. And I mean, I've written about that even, and everything has changed. So I salute you, and if you will die at any moment, you'll be held too. And I just want to congratulate you because you're amazing. I didn't mean to make a scene.
No, you didn't make a scene.
And then the second question is, should I pick the mic?
No, we can just, you know what, if it's not on the recording, it's fine.
I see grief from both sides, having experienced it and dealing with it in my profession. Do you think that grief fractures the soul? Fractures the soul.
Read the question.
Do I think that grief fractures the soul? Well, it rearranges it. Definitely. I'm not the same person. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, who are you? Something changed. It's just like the DNA. I don't know if it's DNA. How the fuck do I know what it is? But it is something has. And I hear that there is something called post-traumatic recovery as opposed to post-traumatic stress. And sometimes some really hectic stress can cause a recovery of sorts, I believe. I believe this, that I'm in recovery from something that was so traumatic, and that I'm going to be better than I ever was before, because I like that idea. I don't want to be worse than I was before, because why? So I've been working really hard on putting Matt and me into a book. This is my love story, my love letter to him. It's my memorial to him tonight. It's me remembering my beauty and my bird and all these the two that I lost, but that flew to another dimension and who both sit on both of my shoulders now and watch me. And all those other ancestors and spirits that are in this world with us, they're all with us. I believe this. Maybe no one can prove it, but I don't give a fuck because I don't have to prove it. It's what I believe. Whatever we tell ourselves is what it is. I mean, I was about to speak about Trump because that motherfucker is telling the world something, and look at the results of a belief system. And that's why the power of what we really think and how we process. And I've decided I'm not going to be someone like my mum, who was this widow in sort of black shawl-ish mentality, drinking and muttering to herself in the kitchen when she was young still. And she really suffered the loss of my father in a very widow kind of like, and that for me has been something I really don't want to be. I mean, I'm not trying to like get over this thing too quickly, but my understanding is that he shifted space.
And every grief is different, right?
Yeah.
Every experience of grief is different.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why how you would. And every experience of grief is different, right? Even as an individual person, each encounter with grief is different. So there's no reason why how you are dealing it is less legitimate or valid than someone else's, no?
Exactly. So, I mean, I never thought I would feel like this about. I had people die before, but I never felt it the same way, like this, where the soul is ripped apart. Yeah, you said, is it fractured? My soul got fucking. But then it came back. And the thing is, like, I don't even know where I'm going to be, like, tonight in terms of my head. Because I could be, like, crying in the next 2 minutes, but I could also be absolutely laughing. I think what's beautiful is that what we are is alive. And here we are. And we don't know when it's going to happen. And that's when, I guess, the feeling of just, like, live as long or as hard as we can and as good as we can.
Like you say, grief pays no attention to the clock.
Yeah.
1:28. The third question is,
Where's the
where's the other mic?
I've got it. Would you like to come and ask?
That's the third question.
Could you come here if you don't mind? Otherwise, we're going to have a bit of feedback
In
on
the
that.
spotlight.
It's yours, Nels.
Hi. I'm really interested in psychedelics as a vehicle for healing. Can you tell me approximately what age you were when you first started using? Because when I'm not using psychedelics. Administering the plant medicine. And how you think it's aiding you in your recovery, or where you would be if you maybe hadn't done that 8 milligram dose. Or gram
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have written 2 books.
I wouldn't have written 2 books, I'm sure.
I would have been a different person. I think I would have just been a sort of quite an earthbound materialist by this stage. The thing is, I probably used mushrooms for the first time, in 2015, which is now 11 years ago. And most of the early years, I probably did them 3 times a year. Then it got to a stage where I was like, fuck that, it's too hard. 2 years I didn't do it. I was like, yeah. So it's like it's a very hard journey one goes on. I don't think it's easy. And I think if you want to find out who you really are beneath all the masks and all the layers that we have, where we don't even know what they are, that was for me what has helped me have a deeper recovery. Because my journey of recovery is a recovery of self-love. Because with self-love, I can move from everywhere, from that place. If I don't love myself, I'm going to be a fucking pig in this world. Because people who don't love themselves are very hurtful to other people. And I'm talking about proper self-love, acceptance, and kindness towards others comes with self-love, I think. And because there's so many people in deep narcissism and self-hatred, actually a deep-rooted like anger towards the self. That's why there's so much pain and destruction in this world right now, I think. I mean, Jay Naidu also liked this stuff, hey, by the way. I mean, I don't know why I'm dropping Jay Naidu into the conversation. But he when he was still like kind of working with the ANC, he thought about putting the psilocybin in all the water. I mean, like the water, in municipal water, he believed that people would be better people to each other. I hope he's not watching this. I might have misquoted. Am I right?
It's a great expose. Thank you.
What are you doing and why are you here? Are you going to make this into a headline? Please forget that I said this. It wasn't that Jay Naidu, it was somebody else. Oh, Jay, I'm sorry, but I think he does admit it. Jesus. No,
Was there another question somewhere?
Yeah. I'm safe.
Any more questions or comments? It's a comment from me.
Okay, Melinda, first of all, congratulations yet again. I just want to say I admire your resilience and I know your work, I respect your work. I love your storytelling. You are such a powerful storyteller. I don't even know whether you are you are aware of this. I think your ability to be authentic just brings honor and respect and pride to journalism. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you. I think that's a very nice place to stop tonight, Melinda, unless you've got anything else to say.
I just want to
Just to
thank
wrap up.
everybody. Just one last thing. Thank you, everybody, for being here. You have no idea what it means to me. Each one of you are in my heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Melinda, so much for sharing all of that. The book is for sale up the